Miao! Miao is here, and she is cute. Let's deep dive into optimizing her combos and gameplay, and see how worth it her advancements and matrices are, and finally compare various team comps to each other. Miao is the second physical flame hybrid character, except unlike with Maygi, it's actually baked into her kit properly. Passively, her damage will use the highest value out of each base attack, attack percent, and even damage percent. However, she still does physical damage, but can deal flame damage when used as a support for a flame team. Her weapon passive is similar to Mimi's, dealing bonus damage per interval when she is on field. As with all weapon passives, this does not scale with multipliers and is calculated to only contribute roughly 2% of your total damage. Additionally, her weapon charge effect introduces a new armor dissolve effect, which replaces Grievous and buffs physical and flame damage dealt to the target. This is essentially a permanent effect due to the duration, though the effect is not as strong as the original Grievous. Her trait boosts final damage by 18%, with an additional 10% physical damage dealt to targets under 80% health when she is on field, and then another 20% on-field normal attack damage for Miao herself for each physical weapon equipped, up to 40% in total. This trait is extremely powerful and makes Miao a very strong main DPS, though note that unlike Zeke, her trait only boosts normal attack damage for herself, so she doesn't benefit Genono as much. Next is the core of her damage, her skill. This deals damage and grants Hyper Body and Searing Blades after fully executing. Searing Blades inflicts a huge amount of physical or flame damage when you deal the respective damage via a dodge attack, consuming one blade per use, while boosting final damage and refunding a dodge, but can only be consumed once per interval. Let's dig into her combos. In terms of DPS, her strongest combo is 2 basic attacks into dodge attack. Cancel immediately as the start of the second attack's animation starts. Note that the 2 basic attacks make up the bulk of the damage of this combo. Okay, sorry, I lied earlier. There's actually a stronger combo, which is the full chain with a dodge cancel right as you jump into the air. However, you'll only have time to use this combo once. Any more and you won't have time to burn all your blades in the rotation window. So she's a powerful main DPS who can also support from the backline by adding a large amount of bonus damage to dodge attacks. But what about her advancements? Let's go take a look. Because her advancements provide generic value, I'll use a base team of Miao, Zeke, and Nan Yin for calculation purposes, but the value should be fairly consistent across comps, varying only very slightly based on how much a team focuses on raw damage versus bots. Her A1 increases the amount of Searing Blades per skill use from 3 to 4, while also decreasing the cooldown between consuming them. Because Searing Blades are most of her DPS, this advancement adds quite a good amount of value. Her A3 causes you to ignore 15% of your target's physical and flame resistance. This is worth a good chunk of damage in content where it's active. A5 is a utility advancement that grants a 30% health shield when using a Searing Blade, converting half the excess shield to healing if you already have one. Finally, A6 increases Searing Blade damage and grants an additional final damage increase upon using it. It's worth a decent amount in total. Overall, the strongest advancements are her A1 and A6, meaning there's a lot of room for consideration of matrices in between, which we'll dive into now. Yan Miao's two-piece matrix grants flame and physical attack percent off field, which matches Lyra's two-piece value at max. Her four-piece increases elemental damage when equipping at least one physical weapon, with a bonus when Yan Miao's weapon is equipped, also working in the offhand. Now, how does the power of this compare to other matrices? Here is a graph of standalone matrix values. Compared to other limited matrices, hers are extremely powerful, even matching Nan Yin's matrix at max investment, and beating it at A0. Pre-3.0 matrices, such as Genono, are much weaker. Note that Umi's matrix is roughly the same as Genono, but I omitted her because graph space. Lyra's matrix is fairly competitive with 3.0 matrices, and much more accessible these days. Note that the values for Scylla and Hovel are their off-field values, as there's no reason to use them on-field over Samir and Shiro. Because Yan Miao 0-star is such a huge leap over Scylla and Hovel, if you are using either of those in your offhand, grabbing Yan Miao's 4-piece is preferable over advancements after A1. Now it's time to talk about teams. Yan Miao can work with a lot of different units, but that being said, in every case except when paired with Annabella, Yan Miao is the ideal main DPS, which means that it's technically a physical team, as it's doing mostly physical damage. Now, that doesn't mean that a flame main can't pull Yan Miao and do big damage with her. It just means you're doing physical damage, but pairing her with flame supports, which just aren't as strong as physical or altered supports. In fact, trying to force flame damage main is so non-optimal that I had to hard-code a condition in the calculator if you wanted to optimize for flame damage only, potentially for the purpose of sequential. Anyways, back to the team comps. If Yan Miao is the main DPS, who are the best supports? Zeke provides an incredible amount of damage via buffing and the snake chain effect, followed by Nan Yin and Fiona. Claudia is unironically better than other physical options such as Genono. And she was never really weak, but it was hard to maintain her double war wounds effect in longer rotations, but Yan Miao brings short rotations back to the table. So, how do the teams look? Let's start with the obvious team: Yan Miao, Zeke, and Nan Yin. In this team, we'll use Yan Miao's trait, as any team with Yan Miao should be running, unless it is forcing flame damage. Bubblegum and Thalassic Heart are our relics here, though Overdrive Shot is a viable replacement. For matrices, we just use the respective matrices. In terms of Titan stats, normal and weak point damage are optimal, with dodge damage on the microreactor. Start out with your bubble gun, then use Zeke's skill and dodge attack. discharge to Nan Yin and use her skill, and then switch to Yan Miao, jump cancel, and press her skill. Do her 1-2 dodge combo until 5 seconds are left on her skill cooldown. With typical timing, you should just be running out of dodges, and should be able to finish this segment with basic attack 1-2 without the dodge attack before discharging to Nan Yin, then switching to Zeke, using his skill, instantly switching to Yan Miao, repeating the rotation from here. There is a modified version of this rotation that focuses on landing snake chain procs with Nan Yin's dimensional collapse by switching to her right before it procs. But this is a lot more advanced, a lot more clunky, and does about the same damage in the grand scheme of things. And because this test was done at maximum investment, that means that at any lower investment, prioritizing the chained collapses will only be relatively weaker. So TLDR, don't bother. Now, let's talk about another variant of the team with Yan Miao, Zeke, and Fiona. With Yan Miao's trait as always, and the same relics as before, as well as the respective matrices. Wellspring and Maelstrom are our Fiona skills here, and the Titan stat recommendation is also the same as the previous comp. Focus on normal attack and weak point, and dodge attack on the microreactor. This rotation is similar to the previous with a few key differences. We'll start out with Bubble Gun and then Zeke's skill and dodge. Discharge to Fiona, jump and use her skill, then switch to Yan Miao using her skill while popping Maelstrom. For this first rotation only, start out with a quick 1-2 dodge, just to get the buff up. Then do a full basic attack chain, dodging as soon as the jump portion of the animation happens, and then continue spamming the 1-2 dodge until 5 seconds are left on Yan Miao's skill cooldown. We do this to backload most of the Searing Blade procs in the ramped up Maelstrom. Make sure to end the rotation with basic attack 1 and 2 for maximum damage. Then discharge to Fiona, use her skill, and then go to Zeke and use his skill, cancelling it by switching to Yan Miao. Jump cancel Yan Miao's discharge again, and then use her skill doing the normal 1-2 dodge rotation. We hold Maelstrom here, using it only for every other rotation. Is this actually the best way? What about 30-second rotations? Don't worry, I tested it extensively. This way is stronger, less clunky, and more consistent. As you can see, these rotations are extremely similar in their core, with a Yan Miao main DPS sequence, followed by 2 supports quickly using their discharges and skills before switching out. You could go double altered, you could go double physical support, or even flame supports, and the gameplay is mostly the same. But how does the power of these comps compare? Let's take a look in the next section. We'll start out by comparing Yan Miao comps to each other. The strongest 2 comps include Yan Miao, Zeke, and either Nan Yin or Fiona. At maximum investment, these are extremely close to each other in terms of power, with the Fiona comp pulling ahead when you use Nan Yin's Inhabit on Yan Miao. But why not both? If you decide to use both Nan Yin and Fiona as supports, the damage isn't as high as with Zeke, but still competitive. If you wanna run quote-unquote triple physical, Claudia would be the ideal secondary support. and for this build, you would need Lyra Matrices on Yan Miao. It's a notch lower than the double altered team, but still pretty strong overall. If you want to run Flame supports, Real Fall is a usable but fairly weak option, and Faisa is decent, but requires Nan Yin to capitalize her burn effect. But both are still weaker than physical or altered supports. How does it stand up to the rest of the meta? Here's an updated theoretical DPM chart at maximum investment. This updated chart includes Relic A4 bonuses, which, if you didn't know, are biased for Bolt and Flame when everything is maxed. I've also updated the parameters for Yulon main DPS and the Mimi Nan Yin comps to be quick swap, and their updated damage is reflected in the chart. The top Yan Miao comps are a notch above the top Nan Yin comps, which lines up with the expected power creep. Other Nan Yin comps are fairly close to the Yan Miao comps. Now, let's tone down the investment level to a Dolphin investment level. This one won't include all the BP Relic A4 bonuses, or limited matrices. Here, the gap between Fiona and Nan Yin comps widens in favor of Fiona, due to Nan Yin's dimensional collapse relying on double dipping on all those huge limited matrix multipliers. The other comps are still an improvement over the old Nan Yin main DPS physical comp, unless you're using Flame supports. At an A3 investment level, it's pretty much the same story, but all Yan Miao comps are better than the old physical comps, though not better than the other Nan Yin comps. Finally, at an A1 investment level, Yan Miao's best comps are very strong, though the triple altered comp is fairly comparable to the others. Also note that the Nan Yin Volt comp looks relevant now. All it took was for the discharge to be bugged and deal an additional 4500% damage instead of 500%. Great work, Balance Team! Yan Miao is a powerhouse of a main DPS, and she opens up a lot of possibilities to different team comps between physical, altered, and flame supports for her, except they all lead to essentially the same gameplay. But who can complain? She's super cute and I am super ready. Daily Yan Miao appreciation post. See you guys next time!